7 years ago, I started painting with watercolor, and there were a lot of ups and downs until I found my rhythm and my focus and leaned into what I loved without fear of judgment. I will also share what I have discovered works for me for this specific style, so if it's something you'd like to go towards as well, you will probably get some useful tips you might not have heard yet elsewhere. So yes, in 2019, I discovered watercolour after many years of playing around with other mediums, and I immediately developed a deep love for it. I wasn't put off by its watery unpredictability, though I did sometimes find it frustrating, of course. But mostly I was drawn to it because of the surprise effect as you pulled something palpable out of the mist, the so-called ugly phase watercolour seems to go through. I worked so hard to tame this medium, and then I had to work twice as hard to let go of what little control I had managed to gain over it, because I wanted my portraits to be loose and expressive in style. I never thought watercolour was meant for anything that looked tight or stiff, but in transformation, halfway between being one thing or something else. That's why back then I always said I was trying to capture the soul, not always a particular subject, but a feeling, a fleeting moment, a reflection in water. And though I don't think my style has changed, I did go through quite a few identity crises, because I did take inspiration from other artists while I wanted to create something that was unique to me, which sometimes feels near impossible to this day, as it looks like everything has already been done. Though I believe that it's only been in the past 10, 15 years or so that artists and art lovers have really leaned into watercolour more for portraits. Looking through the history of art, watercolour was rarely used for portraits unless they were studies. I got a lot of backlash for only painting pretty girls. I feel I need to defend myself here a little, because I actually do paint men too and elderly people, but it is true that most of my paintings tend to capture the characters in their youth, so I don't want to defend myself too much. However, it did make me feel a bit shallow, so I shifted a little more into storytelling. A lot of my past videos, especially in my sketchbooks, show that a lot. There is interaction between different characters and dreamy scenes with woodland animals. I also went back to drawing and really taught myself to sketch, and I did this through my weekly live co-sketching sessions online. They totally transformed the way I draw and gave me much more confidence in the skill that I had been neglecting. I felt massive imposter syndrome too, because my art wasn't serious enough. And after years of wondering why I felt this way, I came to the conclusion that was due to the fact that I grew up in Rome, where very often nothing but classical art is considered worthy, not to mention the fact that there were no women in my history of art school books. Seriously, not even Frida Kahlo was included. Her husband, who was also an artist, of course, was. I thought that if an Italian art professor saw my work, they'd probably consider it too girly and childish, and probably they would. It's not just me being paranoid. I didn't go to the Fine Arts Academy in Rome, but I heard criticism can be harsh. So you can see that I was doubting myself a lot. I even doubted watercolour a bit for a while, because your limits are stretched with this medium. It's hard to get coverage, you can't really cover up mistakes, it's quite challenging to paint large, doable, but still challenging. You have to frame it behind glass. If you use lots of water like I do, you have to have specific pure cotton paper. So I did stray into mixed media, only to find myself being pulled back deeper than ever into watercolour. One, because you can paint anywhere and clean up in minutes, and two, because it had my heart. While storytelling is still pretty much part of my art, the dreamy atmospheres, the hints at the unfolding of something which is open to interpretation, the characters that make up the story are still these ethereal creatures that I feel watercolour captures like no other medium. So today I went back to painting one of them because I just wanted to sit down and get lost in the layers of a subject I knew I would love. A safe space, if you like, or a comfort zone. This is my first style, or the style I was chasing. It didn't click immediately, but after a while it did, and I just wanted to see if it had changed and if I could pinpoint what I see as its virtues with more clarity now after 7 years. The mid stages, even as some call them the ugly stages, I do call them the ugly stages too sometimes, are where the metamorphosis happens, and they are among the most beautiful to me. I often regret not stopping sooner, but curiosity makes me want to push through to see where I will end up. But stopping earlier and picking just one focal point to add a bit more detail to definitely makes for an extremely expressive and ethereal style. So it's important to recognise that moment of metamorphosis and to own it. That could also mean calling your painting done much sooner than you'd expected. This specific style in portraits calls for a lot of cool tones showing through, and definitely cerulean blue by White Nights, which is a very milky blue, has become a staple for me. I love how it counteracts with the reds in the skin. The green, always a desaturated green like an olive green, and the pops of minty blue pull your gaze across the face like stepping stones. So the whole skin is working for you to create that experience and that sense of movement. The hard edges, when they happen, I did end up getting one under the eye to the right here, are bits of the story like scars or fine lines or tattoos. They are gifts. If you get them, embrace them. Check if you need warmth, because painting with such cool colours in the skin can make a painting look too cold. Remember, the dance between warm and cool areas is like a sign of life. And leaving patches that have less layers and almost end up looking unpainted, you will see them at the end here in the forehead and chin, give the impression of light in a way that is raw and graceful at the same time. One very important thing, which seems rather obvious, is paint what you love. Don't try and please anyone else like I was unknowingly trying to please some imaginary cruel art professor that lived in my head. You are the cruel art professor. You will always be your harshest critique. If I look at my work now, I see that it's when I'm painting subjects that I feel a connection to, that I use watercolour more daringly, which means I use it with more confidence, and confidence means a lot. It helps you evolve faster, it helps you get to where you want to faster. So what has changed? I'm still in love with watercolour for the same reasons that made me fall in love with it 7 years ago, but I have let go of the fear of judgment. It makes no sense to paint something that doesn't inspire you, because you'll lose the passion and the whole process will end up being half-hearted, and it will show. I have made friends with this medium and I feel I can master it quite well now, though there are other things that I'd like to paint, like the Tuscan countryside. It's a place I've explored a lot. I have lots of memories there. So I still have a lot of learning to do, and I am okay with that. This said, if you want to dive deeper into expressive watercolour portraiture, my Patreon is where the full process unfolds, not only with guided, live and recorded painting sessions, but also with weekly co-sketching calls every Tuesday. I'm happy to announce I will also be hosting a free workshop in the last week of May, so please subscribe to my newsletter or join my Facebook group. If you want to be notified about the exact date, you will find everything in the description box below this video. Thank you so much for being here today. Feel free to leave questions in the comments, and I will see you all next Sunday. Bye for now.